Hello, ma'am. Can we start?
Yes, sir. Please start.
We have started, sir. Telecom, sir. Started already.
Okay, sir. Jai Bhim, Jai Bulawasi. Welcome to MNT News Network. Thank you for joining today. Today is Sunday, and every Sunday we are conducting enlightening programs in English. And for today's program, we have invited Professor Dr. P.S. Kamble sir, and Dr. P.S. Kamble sir is economist and working as a professor in Shivaji University in Kolhapur. And Dr. P.S. Kamble sir is having a very good knowledge on economics, and Dr. Kamble sir is constantly um, enlightening the public in the large interest of the Indian society. Sir, welcome, sir. Welcome to MIT Network. Jai Bhim, Jai Mullah.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. Thank you very much.
Sir, Jai Bhim, Jai Mullah, sir. Sir, today's topic is NPAs of public sector banks, a burden on commerce.
Yes.
So, what is the meaning of NPA? Please enlighten our viewers. Today's program is
Thankful
1 minute, sir.
to MIT English News Channel because the discussion which is organized is very relevant. It is very important for every citizen of the society. I will begin with what is meant by NPA. Actually, the full form of NPA is non-performing assets. Non-performing assets is NPA. Now, loans which are given by the banks is an asset of the bank because that gives income to the banks. And whatever we money deposit in the form of deposits in the banks, that is liability of the banks because today or tomorrow after maturity or withdrawal, that money has to pay by the banks to the depositor. And therefore in banking terms, whatever we deposit in banks is known as liability, and whatever loans which are given by the banks to the public, it is known as asset. Asset is wealth. And when loans are given by the banks, but willfully or purposefully, those are not being repaid. Those are not being repaid. And even interest payments on the loans is also not paid. And what happens? The banks think that now there is no possibility of return of the principal amount of the loans as well as interest payments. And therefore, those loans are known as suspicious loans. Those loans are known as suspicious loans. And banks, especially public sector banks, further wait for 3 months, and it is confirmed that the loan takers, it is known as debtors. Debtors are not in a position to pay principal amounts of loans as well as interest payments. And that is not because their capabilities and economic conditions are not suitable and favorable or worthy. That is not the case. But as the banks are public sector banks, as the banks are the government owned banks, so there is no need for payment or repayment of the principal amount and interest payments as well. It is known as willful default of the loans. It is called as willful defaulting of the loans. Loans are not repaid purposefully, willfully, and such a loan, when not paid for 3 months, it is known as non-performing assets. That is, loans taken from public sector banks, government sector banks, which are not repaid by the debtors willfully, willingly, and the banks wait for 3 months. And it is confirmed by the banks that now these debtors are not in a position to repay the principal amount of loans and also interest on the loans. And loan is an asset. Loan is an asset for the banks because it gives income to the banks, and on the basis of which whatever expenditure banks have to incur, that depends upon the loans given and the interest income earned by the banks. And when for 3 months the possibility of repayment of loans is not there, and also interest on the loans is not paid, it is called as NPA, non-performing assets. It is called as non-performing assets. Now, this non-performing assets is, it is a loan, and the loan is not repaid. If it is not repaid for 3 months, it is known as NPA. If that loan non-repaid or not repaid, further it is continued for 1 year, it is called as, the that loan is called as special mention account loan. That is, for 3 months loan is not repaid, interest is also not paid, it is known as NPA, non-performing assets, and it is called as special mention account. It is called as special mention account, SMA. That is, in henceforth or in future, payment of loans is not possible. When that NPA is sustained or it remains for a year, then it is called as substandard assets. It is called as substandard assets. That is, bank confirm that for 1 year, the loans taken by the debtors are not repaid, and even interest is also not paid on the loans taken by the debtors. And that is not, it is because of they are not having economic condition, or their economic conditions are not favorable or not suitable. That is not the case, but they willfully reject to repay principal of the amount as well as interest payment. And when that remains, NPAs remain for a year, it is called as substandard assets. And when these substandard assets, or in this account substandard assets, these NPAs remain again for a year, it is called as doubtful assets. It is called as doubtful assets. And when these doubtful assets again remain for 1 year, it is called as loss assets. It is called as loss assets. And when the state of loss assets comes, such loans are write-off. Such loans are write-off by the banks, because it requires to clear balance sheet in that year or after time period, during the specific time period. And the loans are write-off. That is, it is assumed that loans have been defaulted. Loans have been not possible to repay, and that balance sheet is clear. But here the problem arises, when balance sheet is clear, that doesn't mean that amount of loan is totally discarded. That is not the case. Up to 2-3 years, again that loan amount is necessary to be deposited in the bank accounts. And for that reason, government has to make provision in the budget. And government, to continue working of the banks, to increase performance and efficiency of the banks, such amounts loan is provided in the budgetary provision or in budget of the government of India. And all of us know that budget amount that comes from tax and non-tax revenue, fees and penalties from the citizens, that depositors of these citizens, it is defaulted willfully, and also again tax is paid to rehabilitate the banks because of the write-up of the loans. And therefore, the NPAs and write-up of the loans of the government banks or public sector banks is robbery. It is loot of common people. It is unnecessary economic burden on the common people, and therefore this is a very serious problem. This problem, when it was exposed, all of us know this problem was exposed by one of the nationalized banks, that is Canara Bank. What happened? Canara Bank declared that in the last year, the write-up of loans took place of the amount 1.29 lakh crore. Canara Bank declared in the last 11 years, the write-up of loans took place of the Canara Bank stood at rupees 1.29 lakh crore rupees. And it is a huge amount. It is a big amount. And when Canara Bank declared the problem of write-up of the loan, the problem of NPAs of the loan, then other banks also started to search. And political leaders, activists, researchers, teachers, they also started searching what that actual problem is. And Tilak Kumar sir, for your kind information, in the last 5 years, you will surprise, in last 5 years, the amount of loan write-off, it is in crores of rupees and it is increasing continuously. For the sake of public, for the sake of audience, I will cite before you some of the data, some of the statistical information, how much money has been looted of the common people in the form of write-up of the loans and NPAs, non-performing assets. In 2017-18, the amount of loan write-off was 1,67,328 crore. You can imagine how much that amount is. In the year 2017-18, the amount discarded or disposed of as a write-up of loans was 1,61,328. It further doubled in the year 2018-19. Amount doubled and that amount stood at 2,36,265 crore. Just imagine, that amount was doubled. In 2019-20, it stood at again 2,34,170 crore. Amount is in crore, lakh crores. Amount is in lakh crores. And in 2021, again, that amount which was write-up of loans took place, which was 2,02,781. And lastly, in 2021-22, the amount of write-up of loans stood at 1,57,096. Except 2021-22, in all the years that we have taken into account, the write-up of amount of loans or loans has been increasing. It is continuously increasing. And why this is happening? This is happening because the debtors means all those parties, all those people who have taken loans from public sector banks, from government-owned banks, are willfully not repaying the amount of principal as well as interest. They have capability, they have capacity, their economic condition is good, their condition is good. As the result of that, they can repay amount of loans, but they are purposefully, willfully not repaying principal amount of the loans and consequently interest amount also. You will surprise, audience will surprise, how much amount was declared as write-up of loans and what is the number of willful depositors, willful defaulters, the number of persons who are not willingly repaying amount of principal and also interest payment, and the number is increasing continuously with the passage of time. On 31st March 2019, the number of willful defaulters, that is willfully loans are not repaid, that number, it was 2,207. Economic condition is good. They have capability to repay the loan amount taken from the nationalized banks, public sector banks, but purposefully they are not repaying. Purposefully interest payment is not being done by them, and the number was 2,207 on 31st March 2019. On 31st March 2020, that figure further increased to, that number further increased to 2,469. 2,469 from 2,207. On 31st March 2021, that number further rose from 2,469 to 2,814. Just imagine, number is increasing, not decreasing, not in control, not in fall, not in declining. It is just increasing. And on 31st March 2022, purposeful defaulters of loans, that is loans whose loans were write-off, was 2,790. You can imagine the number of parties, number of households, number of individuals who have willfully not repaid loans taken from the government-owned banks, public sector banks, increased from 2,207 to 2,790. Number is increasing, and that is a thing of serious concern. All of you know, for a common people, for a salary owner, for a business owner, for a medium class people, poor class people, when we take loans from banks, security is taken. Salary may be there, house may be there, land may be there, plot may be there. It is taken as security. But how the loan is paid in such a huge amount, in such a big amount, which is not being repaid purposefully, willfully, and that amount is increasing, and the number of willful depositors are also willful defaulters of loans also increasing. As a result, who are those? Who are those parties? Who are those parties who are not willfully repaying loans taken from the government bank or public sector banks? A few examples I will give. Who are these purposeful defaulters of loans taken from public sector banks? Taken
So, sir,
from
Dr. Kamble, sir.
number one, Gitanjali James. Gitanjali James is a industry of Nirav Modi. Gitanjali James is a industry of business of Nirav Modi, and that amount was 7,110 crore rupees. 7,110 crore rupees. Next was IRA Infra Limited, willful depositors, willful loan defaulters, and that amount of IRA Infra Limited was 5,879 crore. Just imagine, is it possible loan given by the banks to the poor strata, to the middle class, to the salaried, to the small and medium farmers? It is not possible. But amount of loan is huge, it is big amount, and willfully, purposefully, it is not being repaid. And these are the reputed businessmen and industrialists. Number one was Gitanjali James of Nirav Modi, IRA Infra Limited, 5,879 crore amount. Then Concost Steel, it is a steel industry. And that steel industry's willful defaulted loan is 4,107 crore. 4,107 crore. Then REIE Agro, that is again a industry, and it has defaulted loans worth of 3,984. You can imagine, is it possible for the common people? Such a huge amount of loan will be given to the salaried?
No.
Middle class, poor strata of the society, deprived communities of the society, not. Those are given to the rich strata, those are given to the businessmen, those are given to the industrialists, and unfortunately, purposefully, willfully, they are not repaying the amount of loans and also interest payment as well. And it is converted into NPA, non-performing assets, and lastly, it is declared as a write-off of loans. And when banks declare, announce write-up of the loans, temporarily that balance sheet is cleared, but that amount is necessary to be redeposited. It is necessary to be recollected. It is necessary to be remobilized. And unfortunately, Government of India became being the owner of that bank, makes its provision in the budget for the rehabilitation of those banks. And all of us know government makes provision in the budget that revenues collected by the government by imposing taxes on all people. Indirect taxes are paid by each and every people in the city, in the country. Every individual pays indirect taxes. GST may be there, excise duty may be there, custom duty may be there. All these are indirect taxes which are included in the prices of goods and services, and thus directly indirectly the amount which is provided for rehabilitation of the banks is provided in the budgetary provision, and that amount is of the common people, that amount is of the taxpayers, and every citizen in the country is taxpayer. Even though he is not a direct taxpayer, indirect taxes are paid by everyone. Taxes on commodities and services, GST is there, excise is there, custom duty is there, sales tax is there, value added tax is there. All these are the indirect taxes. Those are included in the prices of the commodities and services, and in the form of increased prices, these taxes are being collected by the government. And amount of the revenue which is collected, we may say tax revenue, is assigned for rehabilitation of the banks, for the survival of the bank in the budget. And thus, it is a double burden on the common people, because initially the common people deposit amount in the banks. Small savings deposits are there, small deposits remain. But when the loans are not repaid, the banks are not in a position to repay the amount of deposits given by the small people, poor people, marginal people, socially deprived strata of the society. There is a loss of money of the poor people. There is a loss of money of the common people. There is a loss of money of the poor strata of the society, deprived communities. And again, in the form of tax, in the form of fees, in the form of penalty, that amount of the revenue collected or revenue collected by the government, again it is provided for rehabilitation, survival of the banks, and again there is a double loot, double robbery. Therefore, write-up of the loans, therefore, NPAs of the loans, that is double robbery, double loot of the amount from the common people, and therefore unnecessary overburden, economic burden on the common strata of the society, on the common people of the society, and that is a thing of serious concern. And these full depositors are, full loan defaulters are RII Agro 3,984 crore rupees, ABG Shipyard 3,708 crore rupees. In such a amount, in such a big amount, that amount is not paid. That amount is not repaid. Consequently, it is the robbery, it is the loot of the common people. There are two terms, Kumar, there are two terms. One is known as write-up of the loans, and another is as date waiver. In 2008, Minister of Agriculture of Government of India declared agriculture loan, agriculture farm, agriculture debt loan waiver. When such debt loan waivers are declared by the government, maybe central government or state government, that amount is filled by the government in the banks. But when write-up of the loans takes place, non-performing assets of the loans take place, double loss is there to the common people. On the other hand, the deposits are deposited in the banks are lost. On the other hand, the revenue which is subscribed in the form of tax, non-tax, and penalties, that is also lost. Thus, it is a double economic burden on the common people, on the commons of Indians, and that is a thing of serious concern. And therefore, that is a thing of serious concern. How that happens? What happened to Nirav Modi? What happened to Vijay Mallya? crores of billions of rupees loans taken from the national banks, they have not repaid, purposefully defaulted. What action is taken? And that amount is of the common depositors. That amount of deposits in the small amount that is lost, and again to rehabilitate that, government of India makes provision in the budget, central budget. Again, the tax revenue, non-tax revenue, these which are collected from the common people, middle class people, salaried people, again that is lost because that is used for rehabilitation of the loans which are right of the public sector banks, of the government-owned banks, and thus it is a double loss. It is a double economic burden on the common people. And therefore, in the budget for 2022-23, one new concept of banks is introduced. It is declared, which is known as bad banks. In future, bad banks will come into existence. And bad banks means such loans, write-up loans, will be given to the bank, and it is the amount of loan to be repaid by the banks to the government. Some concessions will be given, some incentives will be given, some assistance will be given, but it is the duty and responsibility of bad banks to collect such loans. I am rather suspicious whether it will be possible to collect these bad loans, to collect these private loans, and I am damn sure because government is a supreme authority. Government is a supreme authority, and banks owned by the government are superior, and they are not in a position to collect loans which are given to these defaulters, and how that bad bank is in a position to collect that bad banks or write-up loans. That is a big challenge. It will not be possible. So it is a very complicated problem. It is a very complex problem, and it is the common people who are victimized here in the form of amount of deposits deposited in public sector banks and taxes and penalties which are paid. The question that arises before the teacher like me, why this doesn't happen in the case of private banks? Why this doesn't happen in the case of foreign banks? How their loans are collected, how their loans are repaid. But why this is not paid in the case of public sector banks or the government-owned banks? That is a big problem, very difficult question. Why this happens only for the public sector banks? Why this happens only for the government-owned banks? This doesn't happen in the case of private banks. Bad loans are not there for the private banks. Bad loans are not there for the foreign banks. Why this happens? His policies are protected. If it is being done willfully, if it is being done to discard public sector banks, because government is that running banks is not business of the government. In 1966, 26 banks were there. That number rose to 30. And now it is only 10 banks. Only 10 banks are there in the public sector government banks. And government is saying running banks is not the duty and responsibility of government. Means in future, all public sector banks will be privatized or it will be shut down, it will be closed. All of us know whatever the social welfare programs are there, whatever the women empowerment programs are there, whatever the children development programs are there, from the welfare and social justice movement, those are done through this public sector grants only. For example, integrated rural development program, example, community development program. Take example, the subsidies which are paid. Take example, the scholarships which are paid. Take example, the fees which are repaid. All these are through the government bank, public sector bank. We are getting loans and write-up loans as lost loans, and we are closing the bank. We are setting the bank. I am rather suspicious if the government or the policy makers have to shut down these public. Why they are not looking after the lost loans of the private? Why they are not looking after the lost loans of the foreign banks? Why this is happening only in the case of the public sector banks? The bank? What is done to the Nirav Modi? What happened to the Vijay Mallya? No action there. So is it a planned effort? Is
Professor
it a
Dr. Kamble, sir.
to discard public sector and government? That question arises for the common teacher like me, for the common studier like me,
Sir,
and I'm in a
sir,
position to answer this question. Over to you, Tilak. Over to you, Tilak.
sir. Thank you, Professor Kamble, sir. You have elaborately given information regarding NPAs. Sir, the viable, what you said is around lakhs of crores, 2,34,000 crores, 2,36,000 crore. Such a huge money they are viving. And the amount that the banks are receiving from the common public, from the employee sector, from the genuine business personalities, those who are paying interest in from time to time. So this is the public money that is being wasted willfully by certain public sector banks. There are around 7 lakh public sector employees working in various public sector banks in this country. Sir, out of those employees, the reserved category from OBC, SC, ST, and they are not employees. They are the representatives from this sector. So they have to raise their voice through their unions. So please elaborate and what is the role of these employees? The because the because in banking sector the higher authority is constantly pressurizing the lower category and threatening to transfer from this place to this place, and they're unable to raise their voice. Uh, so actually, you have rightly enlightened, sir. From in the year 2019-2020, 2,34 crores means it is a budget of a major state, a 1 year budget. So so, like Maharashtra or Gujarat or even Tamil Nadu, their budget is reaching 2 lakh crores, and this viable is almost 2 lakh crores. So, how they are able to vibe such a huge money, and how they are wasting the public money, and what is the role and responsibilities of the public in this country, sir? Please conclude this topic within 5 minutes because we have already crossed 30 minutes.
Very important question you have asked. Now it is urgent need of the hour to strengthen and to be powerful trade unions of the employees. And their voice is of crucial importance because in future, the policies are in a position to shut down all nationalized banks. They want to privatize that. So public sector employment will not be there. So urgent need of the agitation is there. Urgent need of the opposition is there, number one. And all nationalized banks and government policy makers also, it should be obligatory to work within the framework of Constitution of India. Constitution of India has very systematically explained how the modus operandi of the economic activities, banking sector, digital sector should be there. So it is a violation of the Constitution. It is a violation of the right to live. It is a violation of that representation policy, reservation policy, which is incorporated in the budget, incorporated in the Constitution, and in preamble, equality, justice, fraternity, brotherhood, all those are just, it is sacrificed. So what I would suggest is now the employees unions should be aggressive, should be efficient, should be cautious, should be full of awareness, and agitate, because in future they are not in a position to retain their job as well. This is one, and it is double loot, double loss of money. On the one hand, deposit; on the other hand, the taxes and non-tax revenue collected, and constitution violation is there. So what will be there? On the one hand, opposition of the employees unions; on the other hand, it is obligatory to work by the government policymakers in the framework of constitution, and our representatives, our political parties should also take a part, and it should take a people's movement. This is totally unhealthy. This is totally against the society, welfare of the society. So they should take a people's movement form, or a form of people's movement, along with our representatives, along with opposition party, along with the employees of the banks and insurance and all others. They should be very aggressive. They should be very active and dynamic. Otherwise, it will be very difficult to save the banks, as well as the amount of money which is deposited in the banks. So double robbery, double loot of the money is there from the common people, and it is dangerous. It is harmful. So every citizen should be cautious, because every
Thank,
citizen, therefore, in that direction, efforts and implementation and attempts are very much required. Over
thank
to
you,
you, Tarun.
Professor Dr. B.S. Kamli, sir, for, for
Thank you
enlightening
very much.
the public regarding NPAs of public sector banks, a burden on commons. Sir, discussing on economic issues needs a lot of time, and in a short period, that is within 30 minutes, you have given a lot of information. And with this information, I think it will be definitely useful for the all the employees organizations, unions, and those who want to strengthen this country, and those who want to develop this country. They need such an information to enlighten the public and to bring awareness among the public. Thank you for coming to MNT News Network, sir.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Jai Hind,
That
Jai
is the
Namaste.
purpose,
And
and I hope
uh,
that will realize and achieve.
yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Uh,
That is the
Thank you
purpose of
for
today's
coming, sir.
discussion, and that will serve the purpose, I hope.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir. And this program is a live program, and this was broadcasted in YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and this program is also recorded. And you can view this program at any time. And please share this program, and please encourage MIT News Network. And every day we are broadcasting various programs in various languages on various topics. So please subscribe MIT News Network and watch again and again in the large interest of the country. Thank you. Jai Bhim, Jai Bulwas.